The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this episode are that of the guest and host and do not necessarily reflect the values of sponsors or other associated organizations. Welcome to the Parental Compass presented by Family Education and Support Services. I am your host, Bobby Williams. Welcome to all the new people joining us. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe. Any platform can do it. Here's two truths. Addiction recovery is challenging, and children can be stressful. How can you be the best parent possible while still navigating your own sobriety? Our guest has a lot of experience in this area, Sam Miller. Sam is a hilarious touring comedian. You can learn more about him by going to sammillercomedy.com. And he's also a recovering addict. At Sam's worst points, he was on meth, he was violent, he wasn't someone that you'd want to be around. A lot has changed since then, though. Sobriety isn't just about not doing drugs. It's about navigating all those feelings that push you to do drugs in the first place. Today, we're going to talk with Sam a little bit about how he's been doing it. Let's check it out.
Because I try to describe addiction to people that don't understand what it's like for me to do drugs, and it's like, I'm not running towards high, I'm running away from sober. Like, I hate the way I feel sober, and not anymore. I mean, it's still rough sometimes, and don't get me wrong, like, I miss it, I do. But my life today is, I have problems in areas where I used to not have areas, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. What was it like when it was just really bad? Like, what was kind of the deepest point of it?
Oh, man. I was homeless in Tonasket, Washington, so I had been fired from the Forest Service and had started using methamphetamines again, and I'll just say I was like living at like a puppy mill where they were like breeding puppies basically.
Wow.
It was as horrible as I could tell some like really awful stories, and I'm not right now, but like as terrible as you think it might have been living at like a puppy mill and using methamphetamines and like being around like very violent people and being violent myself at times, like it was that much. It was absolutely terrible. So
Yeah.
absolutely terrible.
What was your relationship like with your dad growing up?
It wasn't great, you know. My dad was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force, and he was very strict, and he drank a lot. And then he retired when I was a kid, and then he started drinking more. And then he passed away when I was 12. And it's kind of a thing I try to explain it because it ties into the addiction stuff, because it was like I was scared of my dad until he died, and then after he died, I was scared of everything else. You know, like it was weird. Like he was kind of a maniac, but he was my maniac, but he kept me safe. You know, like he might be dangerous himself, but he kept me safe from other stuff. Ask my dad. Like if my dad couldn't beat you up, he'd shoot you. You know, like he wasn't like I'd seen my dad pull guns on people. I'd grown up around that. Had it's just something I was around, and it was, you know,
well,
it's what it is.
Yeah.
I thought everybody, when I was a kid too, it was weird. Like I thought it was everybody grew up like that. Like I thought it was like everybody had like grew up around like violence and stuff like that. But it turns out that it's not. There's like a big chunk of people that do, and it's at different levels.
Yeah. But, it's wild how when you're young, you think your family is just the world because that's just what you're around all the time. And so why would you think anything else?
Exactly.
You know, they say potentially genetics can play into addiction. Does that make you worried about your children at all, or?
Oh yeah. It was my dad, his drinking and my drinking, and honestly, all the men in my family generally, and on both sides, my mom's side too. I mean, there's
Hmm.
been struggles over there, struggles on my side, a lot of beauty too, but like a lot of struggles.
Yeah.
Like usually those things kind of exist together in a weird way, you
No
know.
one's ever one thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The same thing with my dad too. He wasn't one thing. Like he was a bad dude, but he was a good dude in certain ways too. But
Yeah.
like a for real bad dude sometimes.
Uh, well, what do you,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
What I was gonna say with my kids, when when Brittany told me that she was pregnant and we had that conversation and we decided to, if you don't know what that conversation is about, we were talking about whether or not we were going to keep it or not, you know.
Hmm.
And we decided to keep it, and immediately I was just, that's the first thing I thought about, and that's how strong that is. Is like,
Wow.
in being a man in recovery, it's like that's my first thought was like, oh my god, like what if he's like me, like what if it's like
Hmm.
me. So yeah, I'm scared. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Of all the things I'm scared about, that's actually pretty high up
Yeah, that's tough. Just what are they like me? Oh, what
there.
do you,
Yeah.
yeah, what are you teaching them? I know they're young right now, but are you talking to them about addiction and recovery and things like that?
I think like teaching and demonstrating go hand in hand.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I tell them that it might be a good idea for them to steer clear of psychoactive substances.
Hmm.
Um, I don't use those terminologies, but I've talked about drugs, I've talked about alcohol, and I've talked about how our family, like we have a predisposition for substance use disorders, and that I had a substance use disorder. But the biggest thing, and you know this too, Bobby, it's like demonstrating.
Hmm.
So, and that involves, and that's more than, so besides me staying sober, I need to be gentle and beautiful and consistent and
Yeah, well, they talk about people being like dry drunks or something. Like they're not drinking, but they're still just a very difficult person, or they're not doing all those other things you need to do.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And at my worst, yeah, I do struggle with that. But as time has gone on, and you know this about me too, man, and I've over the last, it's funny because I've been dealing with this for the last like 4 days now, is that like I am a sensitive, emotional man.
Yeah.
And those emotions are going to happen.
Such a challenge is managing those emotions or handling things when you feel angry. Do you have any times recently where you were just, really upset and you were proud how you managed it?
Man, I feel like this is my wheelhouse. You really set me up for success here. Um, yeah, my kids about 3 weeks ago they broke a fairly expensive flat screen TV
Did they
that I
just
had
tip it
purchased
over
during the.
or?
They were throwing dog toys at each other in the living room,
Hmm.
and they didn't know they broke it because it was off when they hit the screen with the dog toy. Didn't know it was broken because it was off. But I turned it on and knew immediately what had happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, I didn't yell. Obviously,
What,
I don't put my hands on 'em. Yeah.
what did you do instead of yelling?
You know what I did? I was glad they were outside. They were outside playing with their friends when I saw the
Uh-huh.
TV, and I got very very upset. And then I calmed down, and then I started thinking about it again, and I got upset again, and I cycled about 5 or 6 times,
Uh-huh.
upset and then calming down, upset and then calming down, and then I called them and I told them and I told their friends, I was like, hey, kids, you guys are in deep trouble. I told their friends, I was like, hey, they can't play today. They're probably not going to play tomorrow either. Like they're in very big trouble and they need to come in. And it was funny because they come into the house and they're like, like, what, Dad? What is it? What happened? Like they knew
Hmm.
it was bad. And I said, look at the TV. And my youngest looked at the TV and I'm not kidding. He was like, no, 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 like this is bad. And I was just like, you know what's funny? I think you'll love this. Is I told him, I was like, man, like, God, I love you guys more than anything. But I was like, I am so upset. Like I am so mad right now.
Yeah.
And immediately I'm like, all right, this is what we're doing right now is like, you guys, I'm just going to start naming chores and you're just doing them and
Hmm.
you're not going to complain about it. And I'm like, and then you're probably going to spend the rest of the night in your room for sure. I'm going to wait till your mom gets home and we're going to talk about stuff after that. Like you guys are in huge trouble. And they got emotional too, you know. And honestly, it's funny because they liked watching that TV too, you know.
Yeah.
Like it was a big nice thing
It's a
that they
loss for
broke.
everyone. Hmm.
Yeah, and they broke it because they're careless, because they're kids, you know. They don't
Yeah.
care, they don't understand, you know. So
Well,
that's whatever.
let's talk about the comedy world because I know that's
Oh
a
god.
huge part of your life. And you're
Hmm.
traveling, you're all over the place. I imagine in that scene, there's still probably a fair amount of substance use
Hmm.
around. You know, it's
Oh
like a
absolutely.
musician or anything else, probably. You're working at night, it's a kind of
Hmm.
party atmosphere.
Hmm. Hmm.
What's that like for you as a sober person?
You know, I don't think I've ever been tempted at a comedy show to drink or use or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's just not like, I think I'm very glad that I found comedy after I found recovery and not the other, like, because I
Hmm.
don't know if I would have found recovery if I had found comedy first. Comedy, it's weird because like there's people that say, "Oh, comedy is therapy." It's not. Therapy is therapy. Uh, co-
Uh-huh.
uh, Comedy can be therapeutic, and it can, but a lot of times comedy is not therapeutic, especially for folks when they're starting out and a lot of times like comedy at its best is like an amazing community of like-minded folks that are
Hmm.
working hard. Comedy at its worst is terrible for people.
You're traveling all over the place and doing kind of this non-traditional job. How does that tie into parenting, or do you have any thoughts about how that all works together?
I'm still figuring it out, you know. I've only been doing comedy full time now for about 4 or 5 months,
Hmm.
but I have been doing it for about 8 years, and I'm just now starting to do like major road work where I'm gone for like 6 or 7 days. But also my kids are 8 and 10 now, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, I feel like when I put some stress on one area of the family, then it's up to me to take some stress off in another area. You
Yeah.
know, like I think as as like a husband and a dad and honestly like a man walking through this world, like I want to, or just a human being, it doesn't even need to be like man shit or woman stuff, but like
Hmm.
I don't know why I keep trying to equate this to gender while I'm talking to you. I think it has something to do with the conversation we were having before this about our friend. But
Yeah.
like I it's up to me. Like that's on me. Like I need to be as good of a person as I can be. And if I'm gonna go get mine over here, like when I'm like stand-up comedy is like it's like a selfish art form. Like it's just you and you're trying to get all the laughs, you know what
Uh-huh.
I
All
mean?
the attention, all the, yeah.
Yeah. And so to be like a whole person, I feel like I need to balance that out on the other side, you
Hmm.
know? So like I have beautiful relationships with all kinds of people like you, honestly. Like it's even cats like we're not like hanging out all the time or something like that, but every time I see you, and I know if I called you and if I needed to talk, like you're there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Totally.
and I have so many people in Olympia and outside of Olympia too, but mostly Olympia that are like that.
Hmm.
So like that's it for me. It's like I can do A, B, and C, but it doesn't work unless I keep it going with D,
It,
E, and F.
it
So
sounds like having a good support network is just a huge part of sobriety too. And
I would say that that's the most important part. That's vital
yeah.
to it. Like there is, as far as recovery goes, it's not me, it's us, you know.
Mhm.
Like that's what it is. So
Yeah. Well, and I think when people are actively using, one part that's really hard about quitting is like, well, all my friends are using drugs too, or they're all drinking. And then even if they weren't, the best people to be around, it's like you lose your whole, network of people.
yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if it was like that for me. I still have a lot of friends And I don't dog them at all. Because the thing about, I got high for a long time for a reason. And there's things I regret I did to get high. There's things I regret while I was high, but I don't regret doing drugs. And it wouldn't matter if I did. It doesn't do anything,
Yeah.
Uh, like, and I still have a lot of friends and I love them. And I'm always going to mess with them, whether they're in recovery or not, because we're all like, me, man, even in like, especially early recovery, like I was still downtown, like I was bouncing at a bar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I would get done at that bar and then I'd go over to the Royal and get mixed up in some like fisticuffs and like sober. Like,
yeah.
I'm sober. Like, and that's the other thing, like other behaviors, I'm not going to go into details, but it's like I was still doing illegal stuff sober, and
Yeah.
stuff that I didn't need to do, and stuff that was dangerous, because it's like, that saying, it's like, what do you know what you get when you get a horse thief sober, right? You know what you get?
What do you get?
A sober horse thief. Like,
yeah.
That's the deal, like, I love it. That's the most like redneck cowboy saying, I swear to God.
Yeah. Are there things that your wife does to help keep you on track, or how does she support? I'm sure a ton of ways, but anything that just comes.
Oh yeah. We are a great fit. Her organization skills are much better than mine. I feel like I'm a good mascot around the house. But there's a division of things. So like basically, like I wash the dishes and try to keep the kitchen clean. Like that's mostly my deal. She does a lot of the cooking and the laundry.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, and we switch it up sometimes. Sometimes I'll do some laundry and some cooking, it all depends. And we just don't, it's like we do what we need to do, but we don't really stress about it. And also we're constantly checking in with each other. And there was points early on where it was very hard, especially when the kids were really young, where I was worried that I was like, can we do this? Can we make this? Can we make this happen? But what's amazing is that like I love her now more than I ever have, especially with her and my mom too. My mom lives with us. She lives downstairs. She has her separate living space. Like sometimes we don't see her for like a week, even though she's downstairs. But like a lot of times, like she's up every day. And like my mom and my wife have put so much trust in me to have a go at this comedy stuff that I am incredibly grateful and blessed to have these opportunities,
Yeah.
So I'm actually watching my mom walk in the front yard right now. I don't know what the hell she's doing. I'm probably going to go out there and help her do some stuff here in a minute.
Well, it's been wonderful just seeing all your growth over the years.
Hey, that's what's up.
You're building right now, and I'm just wishing you all the success. And thanks for being here and talking to me today.
Hey, 100%. Yeah, and you keep doing your thing too.
SamMiller.com.
Peace out. Yeah, SamMillerComedy.com. I don't know.
Oh, good. Thank you.
SamMillerComedy.com.
Let's do a reshoot. Sam Miller
Let's do. Oh, my phone fell too.
Oh no.
I got
you. Go. SamMillerComedy.com. Thanks for being here, Sam.
Hey, you're so welcome, Double B. It's good to see you, man.
Thank you, Sam. SamMillerComedy.com. It's been great having you on the show. This has been the Parental Compass presented by Family Education and Support Services. I'm Bobby Williams. We'll see you next week. Peace.